So I posted a position available on a top fuel team in Brownsburg, Indiana. I just want to go out and, I've answered a lot of messages, but I don't think people really understand what it's like to work on a top fuel team. Number one, you must live in the area where the team is based. Unless you're some kind of fly-in guy, which those are far and few between. But you must live in the area. So, for example, our area is Brownsburg, Indiana. So if you lived in the Indianapolis area, in that you could be a candidate for, being on a top fuel team, the one that we have available. Next, if you don't live in this area, you have to be willing to relocate. Which, if you're a single guy and you're renting or you're living in your mom's basement or something, that's not a bad gig. You could probably get away with it. But if you have a family and you have kids, it's probably not a good situation. Because, let's go a little farther. What is the pay of an entry-level crew member? It can be from anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 in that area, depending on if you have a CDL or not. Now, if you have a CDL, of course, that gets you into the other category. If you don't have a CDL and you don't have any mechanical experience, you're going to be on the lower spectrum of that deal. Now, I have a lot of people who apply that are in their 50s and things like that. And they're like, yeah, I've always wanted to do it. It's always been a dream of mine. Well, let me tell you what, it's not necessarily a good dream. Sometimes it can be a nightmare. And I'm telling you that because you spend a lot of time on the road and away from your families. So unless you can do that, then the job might be okay for you. Now, if you have small children at home, it's probably not the best job in the world. Because guess what? You're on the road 200 days out of the year. And you're sleeping in a hotel room when you're on the road with another dude. So it's not the most glorious thing. Now, compare it a little bit to a circus. You set the big top up, you have the show, you take the big top down, you travel to the next show, right? Kind of like that, except sometimes you're coming back to the shop and servicing stuff, and believe me, there's 3 and 4 day weekends off here and there, but there's a lot of weekends, like 20 of them, you're working, and that's all there is to it. You're not with your family. Now, the perfect model of being a crew member in NHRA drag racing these days would be young, probably single, or if you're married, that your wife or husband is in the industry as well, so you guys could kind of somewhat travel together. Next thing would be is you probably wouldn't have kids. And I say that because you are away from your children a lot. And, I'm not going to sit here and beat this dead horse again, but you don't get to see them as much. You miss out on the weekends where they have soccer or baseball or whatever it may be. And it's not the most glorious job in the world. Although everybody sees it on TV and says, oh my gosh, how exciting. Or they go to an NH race and they see these people working hard and people staring at them and clapping for them and all that. Well, nobody's clapping for your kids when you're not there. The next thing, you must be mechanically inclined. Like, can you fix your own lawnmower? Can you fix your own car? Have you worked on cars your whole life? You don't have to be necessarily performance-related, mechanical. Although, you need to probably learn how to read a micrometer or maybe, be able to drill and tap a hole. You got to have that kind of mechanical skill. And probably you need to be able to focus. Now, the next thing is you must be able to play good with others, right? Because you're with this team probably more than you're with your family. So you got to be able to get along with each other. And so, sometimes guys are way worse than women hanging out together. And at the racetrack, there's always a bunch of shit going on. This guy did this guy did that. Oh, did you hear about this? Oh, did you hear about that? All that kind of crap. And you kind of want to stay out of that if you can. But it tends to invade your pit, on a daily basis sometimes. So There's a lot of bullshit that goes on out here, but if you keep your nose clean, that generally just, it won't bother you. The next thing is, everybody thinks this, is all about partying and drinking and all those kinds of things. Sometimes, the guys at night and all that, hey, let's go to the bar and get something to drink in between races and stuff like that. Well, some teams may do that, but my teams don't. I don't put up with that. I don't think if you're 100% focused on your job at hand, because one thing about it, you have a guy that's riding in something that's going 330 miles an hour, and you need to make sure that this thing is put together right? And can you focus on that, the day before, drinking and having a bunch of beer and shit like that, and then coming in the next day and go, man, I don't feel good, I'm kind of hungover and blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't put up with that shit, and hopefully there's other teams that don't put up with that shit either. But anyway, so that's another thing. It's not all about partying and stuff like that. It's not that we don't have fun. Don't get me wrong. It's not that there's not fun. There is times that we get to go and do things when we're out on the road and stuff like that, but it's not all about the party. Just to make that conception very clear that it's not. Now, let's talk about different crew chiefs and different styles of crew chiefing. Now, I'm very, very passionate about my job. Am I a little rough around the edges sometimes? Yep, I am. But I'm more like a drill sergeant than I am your first grade teacher. I will teach you anything you need to know for your job. Matter of fact, I will teach you about the car itself, everything on this car, because my goal is, as a crew chief, is to make sure, number one, the driver is safe going down the racetrack, and I don't put up with any bullshit like that. I do not like stupid mistakes. You can make a mistake once, maybe twice. The third one, we're going to probably have a pretty harsh talk about it. I will put things in place to make sure that doesn't happen again. And if you fail to make sure that those things are put in place, then you probably won't work for me. The second thing is that when I take somebody in on a team, I want them, when the time that they're ready to leave, or the end of the year, or the end of when they're working for me, whenever that may be, I want them to be a better person and a better crew member than when they came in. That way it establishes more value for that person. So they can say, hey, I worked under Rob Wendland, and I did this, this, and this. I was taught this, and I did this. And I want your value as a worker on one of these teams, and in general, just life in general, to be more valuable from when you came in to when you leave. Because I've seen a lot of crew chiefs take people in, and they only give them one job. And they don't tell them everything about their job. They do it for them, or they don't explain to them like why this affects that and that kind of thing. So anyway, I want my people to know, because I feel that they can do a better job with more knowledge about the race car and the job that even others are doing on the race team. And also, as a crew chief, there are different styles of being a crew chief. I would have to say I'm more like a head coach on a basketball team or a football team. I think there are things to be learned during a race or during different things that are going on with the team. I would call those memorable teaching moments. And they may come across a little bit harsh, but what I guarantee is that you will probably remember that for the rest of your life. Okay? So if you're a little soft around the edges, a little bit frail, then this job's probably not for you. It's probably not. Now, are there crew chiefs out there that teach people like pussies? Yeah, there are. And sometimes they need to go back and check on their person 10 or 15 different times to make sure they're doing it the right way, because they think that the crew chief's kind of a pushover and they can get away with doing it their own damn way and not necessarily the way the crew chief told them to do it. But I guarantee you this, if there's been something put in place about a certain way that a crew chief likes something done, there was probably a damn good reason behind it. And if you want to know that, a good crew chief, he'll tell you. So now we've established how much time it takes to be a crew member. We've established what kind of pay that a crew member makes on a top fuel team. And we've kind of established what the coaching style is of being on a race team. So now you know that you're going to have a group of guys that you'll probably always remember for the rest of your life, and girls, don't get me wrong. There are some good female crew members out here, and that you'll have an established relationship for a long time, because you know what? You're with these people almost more than you're with your own families, and you're spending the night with them, so you know that, hey, they snore or they fart in their sleep or whatever it may be. So the lifestyle of a NHRA professional crew member is, in fact, can be very glorious, especially if you're winning races and things like that, but can also be very disappointing. Say you're going through a slump, you're not winning rounds and you're showing up for a race and maybe you're not qualifying. It can be rough. So when somebody is saying that they're looking for help on a top fuel team, now you'll have a better idea of what it really takes to be on one of these teams. And maybe I won't get so many bullshit messages sent to me saying, hey, I worked on a race car team 27 years ago. I have bad knees, a bad back, and I can't walk very good, but I want to still be on a race team. Yeah, maybe some of that bullshit will go away.